everyone knows. There we go. There's that sound. So great. I thought it would be a good idea, sort of before we get into what the platform that you're going to be using looks like and sort of what you're going to need to do, just to run through a little bit of context as to why the tech that Canopy can bring to your referencing is really relevant at this point in time. We all know on this call that the rental market has become extremely competitive in recent months and years. There's been a massive increase in demand that's been fed by a reduction in letting stock. And for you, that means that you're having to sort of change the way you work sometimes. You're probably spending more time than you ever have before managing inquiries for properties, managing viewings for properties. And it also means, unfortunately, that there has been an increase in rental fraud in the market. Applicants are trying to position themselves in the best light. So they're sort of the top of your list, I suppose, when they're applying for a property. And unfortunately, the ways that they're doing that sometimes aren't wholly honest. So we have to start thinking quite cleverly as to how we sort of pick up on that. I'm not saying this at the beginning of this session to scare you. This is probably things that you already know, but it does put in the tech that we're bringing to the table into some good context for you. So moving on to sort of what we're bringing, there's two main goals with this really. We want to provide you with more time and importantly as well, more protection. Picking up on that more time piece, first of all, built into the platform that you're going to be using, there's going to be a nice and easy way for you to pre-qualify your rental leads. And that way you can make sure that you're investing your time in those applicants who actually meet your criteria for the property and who are actually serious about moving forward with the property. Your applicants will also have access to an app that they can download to complete their referencing on the go, should they wish to do that. So they can download our app, have this on their mobile phone, and get their referencing done on their commute, for example, if they're back in the office. That means that there shouldn't be any excuses for not getting this completed as quickly as possible. And of course, the sooner ourselves and the Letmojo team get this information, the sooner we can get that information verified and across to you as well. Moving on to that more protection piece as well, because this is quite important given the market at the moment, your applicants will also be invited to connect up their bank account to their reference form using something called open banking, which you might be familiar with already, you might not be. We will go into a little bit more detail about open banking a bit later on the call, but just to touch on that briefly, that will essentially give us read-only access of an applicant's online bank account. So your applicant will be asked to connect up their bank account should they want to, select the transactions that they want us to see. So they would be the relevant transactions we need, so their salary payments, for example. And then those salary payments and those salary payments alone will pull through to our platform. And we're then obviously in possession of real world, real-time data that we can put to great use. And because we know where that data has come from, it just reduces the risk of fraud even further. One of the great things about open banking is it allows us to get really close to the source of truth. As I say, we know where that data has come from. It's come directly from the applicant's bank account. We don't just want to stop there, though. This platform will be constantly developing. So we'd like to also integrate with payroll providers and with HMRC as well, which will be happening in the coming months. And again, we'll be able to pull that information directly from the source. So for example, with someone who is self-employed, they'll be able to link up to HMRC, we'll be able to pull their self-employment data directly from there. And again, then we're in possession of that real world data. Finally, we also understand that there will still be a need for applicants to upload documents. They might not want to connect up their bank account, or they might be in a position where they can't do that for whatever reason. So the Letmojo team will still be reviewing documents for you. There are great tech solutions that we can add into that process as well, however. One of the great things that AI can be used for within referencing is analysing documents and picking up on things that the human eye might not always be able to see. So any documents that are uploaded to our platform will be run through an AI document analysis. That will pick up on things that are hidden in the document's metadata. So things that would pick up, for example, are whether the document has been modified, very basically. Who the document has been modified by. Was it the same person who created the document? And it will also be able to identify if there have been any changes to the text in the document. And amazingly, it will, in some cases, be able to say what's been edited and what it said previously. So that will then present a report that will be compiled and given to the Letmojo team when they're conducting their document reviews. And that just allows them to be extremely confident in the information that we are then verifying. So that gives you a little flavour of the tech that we're bringing to the table. You will sort of see all of this coming together as we move in to the platform in a few moments. Before we do that, however, I thought it would be a good idea just to run through the different types of referencing that will be available to you and the different services that you'll be able to request through this partnership, because these will have slightly different names to what you're used to, but as I start running through these, you'll probably start seeing some similarities to what you're used to at present as well. So on your screen now, you'll be able to see the different referencing options that are available to you. The first thing you might notice is that I don't have the word references in big bold text at the top of this slide. We do use slightly different terminology to refer to a reference. We call them rent passports. You'll hear me using that phrase a lot throughout this session. And when I do, just bear in mind that I'm essentially referring to the applicant's reference. So rent passport equals reference, basically. You will have a variety of different rent passports that you can make use of at different points in your applicant's application process. You can see those on this screen here. So you've got pre-qualification, credit check only, essential, and comprehensive. We'll just run through these quickly and detail what's included in them, starting off with that pre-qualification rent passport. That is that nice and easy way for you to get some basic information on your applicant and to pre-qualify them, as the name suggests. On that, we will ask the applicant to be nice and upfront about their financial and credit history. So we'll ask them to tell us how much they're currently earning, and from that, we can give you a predicted affordability. And we'll also ask them to tell us if there are any skeletons in the closet, let's say, in relation to their credit. Also on that, we'll ask them to complete a renter profile. So we'll want them to tell us what their needs for a property are. So how many bedrooms do they need? Do they have any children? Are there any pets involved? That kind of thing. So using that pre-qualifier, you should be able to build a good picture of whether you can rent this person or not. At that early stage, on that pre-qualifier, that information isn't verified by the Letmojo team. It is a declaration from the applicant. If you would like the Letmojo team to start verifying information for you, it would be from our credit check only tier upwards where they will do that. So moving on to that credit check only tier, that kind of does what it says on the tin. If you just need to run a credit check on someone, you can request that. It will run an Experian-powered soft credit check on an applicant, which will of course identify any adverse financial history for you. And it will also provide you with a score banding for the applicant. So you'll be able to see where they sit on a scale that runs from very poor up to excellent. Moving on to the next rent passport that you can use, that would be our essential rent passport. This will be a new sort of intermediary check that's available to you. And we can offer this because we've got that open banking connection. So included in this essential rent passport, you will get an Experian-powered soft credit check. You will get an income validation, which will provide you with an applicant's affordability. And we'll also be able to run a check on an applicant's previous rental payments as well. So we can ask the applicant to connect up their bank account again. They'll select the rent payments leaving their bank account. They'll pull through to our platform, and we will then hopefully be able to see a consistent history of on-time rental payments. The last rent passport that's available to you is our comprehensive offering, our comprehensive rent passport. That includes everything I've mentioned already, plus an employment and landlord reference. So this would be in line with what you're used to as your full reference at present, just with that open banking and that additional tech added on top. So they are the different referencing options that are available to you. There are some other services that you can bolt on to these rent passports. You can request identity verification, so just a standard biometric ID validation, which will obviously provide the Letmojo team and yourselves with the confidence that this person is who they say they are. If you use Right to Rent, if that's applicable to you, you can request that through this platform as well. It's as simple as ticking a box to add that on, and you won't need to go to a different system to request that or review any documents. And finally, you'll also, of course, be able to reference guarantors through this system as well. And again, at a click of a button, you can add that on, and a guarantor will then simply complete a rent passport for you. So nice and simple. So they are the different options that are available to you. Again, you will see all of these in action in just a few moments and how you request these. Before we move on to that, though, it's probably a good point to bring Emily back in just to compare these services I've just mentioned to what you're used to at present.
Yes, obviously everything Rory's saying to you probably seems quite tech heavy. Good news for you guys, obviously, is that you aren't losing the people element. Just to reiterate that, we are still picking up the phone and sending you updates and all those things. Rory's obviously focusing a lot on the tech because that's the bit that's changing. So that's the bit that he wants to show you. In terms of the check types, as he said, they aren't that different from what we've got now. The pre-qualification is the same as our agent review function for those that use that. Obviously credit check and comprehensive / full reference, they're much the same. The only one that's new is the essential, which sits between the credit check and the comprehensive, just because we have that technology now to be able to offer that for those that want to make use of that. And obviously I'm sure those of you that do use the Right to Rent will be pleased to know that it is all on one system instead of in separate places, which Rory will show you in just a moment. But yeah, just to reiterate again, you aren't losing anything. You're only gaining from using this platform.
Absolutely, that's really important to note that sort of anything I'm mentioning on this call is getting added on to what you're used to at the moment. So it's for you, I suppose, the perfect marriage between great tech that we can offer and that people element that you're used to with Letmojo at the moment. So we'll move into the platform that you're going to be using then. This is where we'll spend the majority of our time, in fact, the remainder of our time this morning. So you should be able to see that platform on your screen now. This is called HQ. So this is where you will be requesting those rent passports from. And it's also where these rent passport reports are going to start to build up as well. So if you ever need any information on an applicant, it's in this system where you're going to find it. You will be getting your logins for this system in the coming days. When you first log into this system, it's this screen that you're going to be able to see. So you will have a nice overview of exactly what's going on with your account. Your accounts will function exactly the same as what you're going to see this morning, but there will be some nice Letmojo branding on here for you as well. So it'll be nice and clear that it is Letmojo who are conducting your references. There are a variety of different ways that you can put this system to work. You will start to realize as I'm going through this that this system is very flexible, and a lot of it is sort of finding out what works best for you. So there are a couple of different ways that you can get the ball rolling, that you can request a rent passport from someone. So you might want to take a look at those once you've got access to this platform. What we're going to do this morning, though, is request some rent passports, so request some references in line with probably what you're used to at the moment, so that your processes don't change too much. So we'll start off with creating a household, so we'll be asked to enter some property details, and we'll then simply request the references that we need for that household. So you can get the ball rolling from this home screen. You'll see in the center of this screen, you've got the option to create a household. If I click on that big blue button that says create household, you'll see that a pop-up has now appeared. And at this stage, I'm asked to enter some property details. So I can pop in a postcode at the top here and select whatever address is relevant. There's a space underneath that for me to type an internal code. So maybe I've got reference numbers for properties, for example. I could pop that in there. If you don't use anything like that, you can just leave that blank. Underneath that, then, you'll be able to select what branch this household sits under. If you've just got the one branch connected to your account, that will be automatically selected for you. And then finally, you'll tell the system how often the rent is paid and how much it is. Click done, and you're then taken to a screen that looks a little bit like this one. So you can now start to see this property information building up. And all I need to do now is add the renters who are moving into this property. I can do that by clicking on this add renter button in the center of my screen. That will bring up another pop-up. And again, at this stage, I'm given a couple of options. So I can either enter an email address for someone who is already connected to my system. So that might be relevant for you a little bit further down the line when you've done a few references. Maybe you've got someone who couldn't move into a previous property for whatever reason. They're now going for something else. You can simply pop their email address in there. The way that you will probably use this system whilst you're getting started, though, and the way that we're going to do things this morning is we're going to select this invite a new renter option. So if I click on that blue text there, you'll see again, another pop-up has appeared. And again, you're given a few options. And this is where you're going to send the request off to the individual for their rent passport. It is nice and simple. All you will need to do is pop in some details on the left-hand side and select what parts of the rent passport you want them to complete on the right-hand side. You will notice on this pop-up that there are two different ways in which you can invite an applicant to complete their referencing. You'll see there's the option to invite by link or invite by email. For the majority of you, and the way we're going to do this morning, you will be inviting an applicant using their email address. So you'll fill in their details underneath there. It is worth, though, just picking up on what this link is and what this link means. That link is unique to your company, and simply by copying and sharing that with a prospective tenant, it will get them to complete that pre-qualifier. So if you were dealing with a high volume of inquiries and you wanted a nice and easy way to whittle those down, it might be worth giving some thought to using that link, because you could fire that out in an email to however many people you wanted to. That would then get them all to go through that pre-qualification process. You can then obviously sit back, assess those pre-qualification rent passports, decide who you want to move forward with, and at a later stage, you'll be able to upgrade that to whatever screening you need. So it might just be worth giving that some thought if you if you are interested in using that. The way we're going to do things this morning, though, is by inviting the applicant using their email address. It is, again, nice and simple. You'll just pop in their first and last name, their phone number, and their email address. So that's what the request is going to be sent to. Underneath that, you can put in some move-in details, should you know those at this stage. If you don't know those yet, you can just leave that blank. And then on the right-hand side of this screen, you'll select what type of rent passport you want your applicant to complete. So on your system, there will be those 4 options that we went through. So you'll see pre-qualification, credit check only, essential and comprehensive. So you'll select one of those. And you'll also notice that those additional options are here for you as well. So if you know at this early stage that you're going to need a guarantor, you can simply tick that box to indicate that one is required. You don't need to enter any guarantor details. We put the onus onto the applicant to deal with all of that at their end. And you'll see that there's those ID verification options for you as well. So if you wanted to add on that right to rent check, you simply tick that box, and that's then the right to rent check requested for the applicant. So nice and simple. It's also worth noting that you don't have to make any solid decisions on the information you need at this early stage. The system is nice and flexible. You can start off nice and small with that pre-qualifier, or maybe with that credit check only tier, get a feel for what your applicant's reference is going to look like. And then at a later stage, you'll have the opportunity to upgrade the reference. So you could upgrade to essential or comprehensive, or bolt on any of these additional services. And we'll show you where to do that in just a couple of moments. So to recap then, because I appreciate that's a lot of information to throw at you in one go. To get the ball rolling then, the best way probably of using this system is to start off by creating your household. So you'll click on Create Household, enter the property details, and that will then take you to the household screening page. You'll then click Add Renter, Invite a New Renter. That will bring up this pop-up. Pop in the details of the applicant on the left-hand side. Select what parts of the rent passport you want them to complete on the right-hand side, and then simply send that request. And that is then it. That's basically your job done now. The Letmojo team will obviously pick up the slack, so they'll be doing all of the normal work that they do behind the scenes. So if it looks like an applicant's dragging their heels, they'll be reaching out to them. They'll of course be chasing any referees down for you. So at this stage, once you've got that request sent off, you can basically get on with whatever else you need to be doing and just wait for the information to start coming back through to you. It's worth mentioning as well, though, before we move on and take a look at what a rent passport actually looks like, that where household screening really comes into its own is where you've got multiple applicants moving in together. So if you did have a couple, let's say, moving into this property, I would simply repeat that process for the second person in this couple, and you would then be able to see all of their information combined on this screen, so all in one place for you. We will move on though and take a look at what a rent passport actually looks like. I've got one here that I can share with you. This is someone who has completed comprehensive screening, so that full reference check, if you want to think of it that way. And if I scroll down this page, you will see that you get nice, clear, distinct sections that the applicant has completed and that the Letmojo team have reviewed and verified for you. So it should be nice and clear what information belongs where. So if you're ever looking for anything, you should be able to find it nice and quickly. You will also, when you first open up someone's rent passport, get this at a glance view of their information. So you can scroll up and down this nice and quickly and see what's going on. You can then expand these sections to get the full picture. So if I click on the plus icon next to that credit check, for example, I can now see this applicant's personal information. I can see their address history. I can see where they sit on our credit indicator. That runs from very poor up to excellent. And I can also see their financial summary. So that's where any information relating to CCJs or anything like that might sit. You can open up each of these. So if I click on the plus icon next to this income now as well, I can now see that this applicant has connected up using that open banking service. And the beauty of that is that we can provide you with all of that transactional data. So you can see the working that's gone in behind verifying this person's income. You can see why we've been able to verify this income at that stated amount. It is just worth picking up a little bit more on open banking at this stage because it will have great benefits for you and for your renter as well, actually. But there are still, I suppose, some misconceptions out there about open banking. So I suppose it's important to note, first of all, that this connection does not allow us access to everything on an applicant's online bank account. The applicant is always in control of their data. So they will be asked to select the transactions that they want us to see and that we need to see. So they'll select their salary payments, they'll pull through to the platform, and we can then see only those salary payments. So 9 times out of 10, if an applicant uses that open banking connection, we're actually getting a little bit less data than if they provided us with a payslip or a bank statement, for example, but it's more relevant information. And because we can see on our side who's been making these payments into this person's bank account, so it'll be nice and clear straight away if these payments are indeed coming from this person's employer, it means we can be really reliant on the data and we can be really confident in the data as well. So that means if the data we've got matches up with what the applicant has declared, we can get this verified more or less instantly for you. So not only does it reduce that risk of fraud, it also allows us to speed this process up as well, which is key for both you and your applicants. All of that said, however, your applicants are by no means obliged to use this service. They don't have to if they don't want to. They will be presented with 2 options. They can either go down the open banking route or they can provide us with documents instead, so the more traditional way of doing things. And in those cases where they do provide us with documents, the documents will be run through that AI document analysis and then sent to the Letmojo team to review as normal. Scrolling back up to the top of this person's rent passport then, in the top right-hand corner is where you will find the applicant's rent affordability and also their screening result. Now, it's worth picking up on these 2 things at this stage as well, because we will present this information to you in a slightly different way to what you're used to at present. These 2 things, rent affordability and screening result, are independent of each other. They're completely separate and they don't influence each other. That means for you that you will need to make sure that you look at these 2 things before you proceed with an applicant. So don't just see and accept there and assume that the applicant has met the affordability of the property. They are separate and therefore need to be looked at separately. So what will happen is we will calculate the applicant's maximum rental affordability and display that to you at the top there. So I can see that this person is good for £334 a month. And you will then be presented with an applicant screening result, which again is completely separate of that affordability. That screening result will be based on the other risk factors on your applicant's rent passport. So things that would influence that, for example, would be their credit check. Is there any adverse financial history on there? Or maybe their landlord reference. Has the landlord indicated that there was property damage or rent arrears in your applicant's previous property? That might seem like quite a big change to what you're used to at present, but if you use the system in the way that we've been through this morning, it will be second nature to check those 2 things because you will have all of that information on this household screen. If I just add someone on here who has completed their reference, so we'll take a look at the person we've got open at the moment, you'll see how all this information builds up. So I can now see on this screen, yes, this person is an accept. I can see what their affordability is, and I can nice and easily compare that with the monthly rental figure as well. If you want an even sort of bigger visual clue as well, you can utilize this rent share button here also. You'll see that's automatically set to 0 when I add this person, but I can put whatever in there I need to. So I've put £400 in there because I know that this person can't afford that. And you'll see that their affordability is in red. So it's a nice, clear visual clue that actually this person can't afford this property. If I drop that back down to 300 though, you'll see their affordability is now in green. So I'm good to go. So although that might seem like quite a big change, if you use this household screening function, you'll have all the information on here that you need, and it will be nice and clear whether you can proceed with someone or not. Moving back on to this person's rent passport then, if I scroll down on this right-hand side, you'll see this is where you're able to bolt on any additional services. So maybe there's something on this person's rent passport that means I'm now going to need a guarantor. I can simply request that there. And if this person had completed the pre-qualifier, let's say, and I've decided now that I'm going to move forward with them, but I'm going to need a full reference, I'm going to need comprehensive referencing. Again, on this right-hand side, you'd get the opportunity to upgrade, and that would just bolt on the items from comprehensive referencing that the applicant hadn't yet completed onto their to-do list. So you can just build this information up as you go. The applicant would never be asked to complete something that they already had. It would simply build up the information as they go. So nice and easy for them as well. You also don't just have to look at this information on this screen. There are a few reports that you can download from this system. You can download reports on the individual, which we'll take a look at now. You'll see there's that download report button, and there's a summary report and a full report, which you can download. We will just open up both of these and take a look at them because there will be slightly different information contained on them. We'll first of all look at the summary report, and if I scroll down, you will see you essentially get those consolidated sections. So that at a glance view is contained on this summary report. If you present your landlords with reports, it's these summary reports that you'll probably want to use. It will give your landlord enough information without providing them with everything that you hold on the applicant. And if I open up the full report, you will see the difference. So again, at the beginning of this, you get those consolidated sections. But if I keep scrolling, you'll see that you then get those expanded sections as well. So for example, all of that open banking data is contained on this full report. So even though that's anonymized, you'll probably want to use this one internally only. The full reports are really, really useful to download and use internally, and they will be really useful for you whilst you're getting started with this system, because at the bottom of them, you will get 7 or 8 pages which break the report down section by section, and it will provide you with an explanation for each and every warning sign that you might come across on the report. So if you're ever a little unsure of what you're looking at, or you just need some clarification on some terminology that's used on the report, download this full report and cross-check the information that you can see. You should be able to find any answers that you need regarding the report on these pages here. I won't run through all of these warning signs now because there are a lot of them. We'd be here for quite a while. What I will take you through though are our screening results. So once an applicant has completed everything, and once the Letmojo team have taken a look at everything, what conclusions are we going to be coming to about the applicant, and what recommendations are we going to be giving you? So you'll see that results table on your screen there. You'll see two results at the top there, which are greyed out, so not started and in progress. These are both pretty self-explanatory. Not started, the applicant hasn't done anything yet. In progress, we've got some of the information we need. We haven't yet got enough to come to a final decision. Underneath that, then, you'll see those three screening results, which are in colour. So an accept with considerations, and finally, a high risk. Running through these then, starting off with that accept screening results, that means that everything's been completed and checked, and the Letmojo team haven't found any issues. So if your applicant meets the affordability and they're an accept, you're good to go, basically. The second screening result you're going to get is an accept with considerations. So again, everything's been completed and checked, but this time we've highlighted a couple of issues which you'll probably want to consider before you proceed with that tenancy agreement. So it's at that stage that you might start to think about adding a guarantor or maybe taking rent up front, dependent on your company's policy on that. The final screening result you're going to get is a high risk. So again, everything's been completed and checked, but this time we found some pretty serious issues. And these indicate that this person is potentially a high risk tenant. You will get that screening result normally for one of two reasons. The first being that we've received a credit check back and there's adverse financial history on there. So there's a CCJ present or something like that. Or we've received a landlord reference back and the landlord has indicated that there was property damage or rent arrears in your applicant's previous property. So they are the screening results that you're going to be getting. There will obviously be slightly different terminology used for those, but it's worth mentioning that the referencing rules in the background are one and the same with what you're used to at present. And you should be able to see the resemblance, I suppose, to that traffic light system that you're used to at the moment as well. So although slightly different terminology is used, on the whole, with these screening results, not much is changing for you. It's probably good just to bring Emily back in at this point to provide some clarity on those and anything else, obviously, that I've been through this morning. Emily.
Yes, so obviously Rory's gone through quite in depth with you on how to use the system. It is worth saying though, most of the change is happening in the background in what we're able to provide for you on the reference. For yourselves, even though obviously straight away you can see it's a nicer platform to work on, it's still as simple as creating the property address, name, number, email of the tenant, pop the link off, and we'll do the rest essentially. The main change for you is obviously the fact that you've got those two different results to look at. But Rory will show you again on the household in a second how that looks and different reports you can get for that. But it is quite clear, and it's very obvious if you do get anything that makes it not an accept. It is very clear on the referencing screen why that is. And obviously I'm on hand to answer any questions as we go through your first references anyway.
Great, thank you, Emily. Yes, just before we finish up, it's good to show you the report that you can also get from this household screening. So the two reports we've just taken a look at sort of refer back to the individual, but you might want a nice report that gives you all of the information for a household on one PDF that you can present to a landlord. So you can download a screening from this page. If I just download this report, and show it to you, it will essentially give you all of the information you've got on here on one PDF. So on the first page, you'd have a breakdown of each individual that you've got connected to this property. You'll be able to see their details, what their rent share is, what their affordability is, and their screening results as well. So again, it will be nice and clear on this page if they're suitable for the property or not. And then scrolling down as well, you will then get the summary report for each individual connected to this property. And if there are any guarantors on there as well, you'll be able to see them here also. So again, all of the information you need is on this PDF here. That is then pretty much it from me. Was there anything else, Emily, that you wanted to mention before I stop the recording and we open up for questions?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Okay, great. I will just stop the recording then.